Bank of America, we are now talking about connections, and obviously that's really at the heart of what social media is. We're, as a bank, we're across all the social channels we can be: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+. We actually hit 1 million Facebook fans today, but as what Sarah and Andy alluded to, that's more been a function of kind of a very deliberate path to that versus going out and trying to buy what we call the empty calories of likes. But what we try to get more into is the engagement side. So what we want to talk to you about today is how we're using analytics and research to try to connect better with our customers, with our audience. There you go. And what we want to start out with is just show you a quick spot that we've launched back at the 1st of April when we really did a brand relaunch around connections and how life is better when we're connected. And as a bank, Bank of America is trying to help our customers connect to what's important in their life. And obviously through social, that's an important piece of it.
Before they sat down, one more time, just for themselves. Before the last grandchild graced the stage. Before Katie and her husband hit that rough patch. Before Kevin finally came home and the first grandchild arrived. Before the sons-in-law, daughters-in-law, and Brad's brief brush with the law. Before the second British invasion. Before Katie, Debbie, Kevin, and Brad. Before they became a family. There was a connection that started it all and made the future the wonderful thing it turned out to be. We know we're not the center of your life, but we'll do our best to help you connect to what is.
So that's the spot we call portraits, which really touches on what we're trying to do from a connection standpoint. And obviously from a social media standpoint, we are mining our content and our audience to try to match the two up, to make sure that we are on, that we're basically delivering on what we're promising. So if we go to the next slide, we've got really, we love our Venn diagrams, but we've got basically the belief of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to behave and where we are going to connect those two in social and really deliver on what we're promising.
So to continue this conversation, it's really important as an organization that we're not just helping Bank of America say what they want to do, but also helping them actually do that. The first thing we did is we really recognized that social media is a great opportunity to really help to build those connections between the bank and all of their customers and potential customers. The first thing we did within social media is we did something very interesting. Preparing for the new launch of the new brand campaign, we wanted to overall make sure that we were actually fulfilling that belief to help users connect to what was important to them. What you'll actually notice on this slide is we performed a cluster analysis of all of our social users. We took a step back to the first time that Bank of America entered social media. We looked at every single engagement between a user and Bank of America. So anytime someone mentioned B of A community or B of A help on Twitter and they said, I need help with my debit card, or someone liked a piece of content, or someone commented or shared on a video on Facebook. What we ultimately did is we realized something really, really interesting. The first thing that we saw is that users are engaging at heavy amounts, but they're only engaging with content that was very relevant to them. So you'll notice we called out 3 different sections that are very important to bank's business. In the middle is our military campaign. Bank of America works very closely with the Wounded Warrior Foundation. And what they actually do is they help veterans transition back home, help them out, and help continue to support the armed forces throughout the US. What we actually found out is people that engage with Bank of America with military-related content, they almost only engage with military content. The same for products, the same for volunteering, the same for the 14 other categories of different types of social content that bank publishes. So this told us one very important thing, and that was that people only want to engage with Bank of America with information that's relevant to them in their own lives. Going forward, we continued this analysis with all of that user-level anonymous data, and we really tried to understand what creative elements drove the success of all this creative. So what we found out was not things like only put 140 characters on Twitter, but we found out things like certain camera angles or certain lighting or certain borders on our photos made people much more engaging, made people much more positive, and helped tie back to our original KPI. So we actually took our original goals, analyzed all of our data to understand those relationships between our users, our followers, and our engagers and the bank to understand what creative elements help drive creative success. We were able to take that for all of our different content buckets, for all of our social channels, and actually help all of our different creative agencies that work with Bank of America and help them actually build and create better content that our customers were more interested in. And last but not least, we actually found a great opportunity for Bank of America, something that we're really proud of and something that's continuing to grow today, is within examining all of those user interactions, we found something really interesting, and that was that users were looking for help from Bank of America in social media. One thing they were looking for was not just during the day, not just at night, all of the time, but there were different reasons why people were looking for customer service help. One thing that we called out on this slide is that almost a quarter of our comments coming into Bank of America were coming in after hours. And this told us specifically, after analyzing all of the text, after analyzing all the sentiment of these posts, we were able to identify certain trends why people were looking for help. This data was able to go back to Bank of America's customer servicing team, help them not just staff up and kind of help answer questions to make their customers more satisfied with their customer service. It also helped them identify what was causing these gaps and why people were looking for service at different times to help solve those problems in the long term. So until this point, we've talked about different findings, but we haven't really talked about how we put these different findings into action. So what we actually did is for each of these different insights, we launched a really great test and learn plan. The first thing that you'll actually see is we created a custom study with our great media partners over at Starcom, and we actually, knowing that our users are following only certain pieces of content and engaging with certain types of content, we created a pretty proprietary media strategy and content strategy that we're excited with. Instead of just serving up Facebook ads or Twitter ads that say, like Bank of America on Facebook, we actually created ads that were very relevant to each user segment group. That user segment group allows someone, say, from the military to come in to understand how Bank of America and the military are working together. And then these users see military-related content more frequently, helping to provide more relevant content to those users that's relevant to them, helping to then ultimately build that relationship between Bank of America and their customers. What you'll see on this slide is some results from this first round of tests that we've done, and all of the circled dots represent all of this new content and media strategy. It's all been beyond phenomenal. It's been above our benchmarks, above our goals. It's really shown that more people are engaging positively, and overall the sentiment and the engagement around all of this content is exactly what we were hoping for in this test pilot.
So basically, as Dan was saying, you've got all the levers you can pull. And so we've spent the last year basically putting them all in the different settings we could. And you showed earlier there's a placemat there. So we've got the check marks of everything we can check off around content and the best way, whether it's the time of day, how we position it, the right photo to use, the wrong photo to use. A lot of it's been pretty interesting trial and error. We've got a very vocal fan base, I'd call it. Interestingly, what we're trying to get into now is 75% of our social audience are our customers. If we talk about something wrong, especially with where the banking world is right now and where the economy is right now, if we talk about something in the wrong way, our audience will come and let us know that. So one thing we're working through is how to position things and get right through to what we're trying to connect with our customers about. And so our virality rate has skyrocketed, our net positivity scores and overall sentiment scores have gone. And then also just trying to keep people on topic, because one thing we've learned is you can start talking about one thing, but obviously it's social and it can go down another path. And especially on a place like Facebook, 1,000 comments later, you realize this has nothing to do with what you originally started to talk about. So that's been a very important part of what we're trying to do, is make sure that we're talking to our audience about the things they want to talk about, but also keeping the topic and the conversation on point. So then back also from the customer service standpoint, so we service our customers across Facebook, across Twitter. We've ramped up. We've done a lot of analysis around it. And so basically, while our user comments have gone up almost 85%, our sentiment scores are almost up 50%, which is a pretty interesting correlation for us because before we were afraid of more comments because and the potential of more negative comments and how that can build on itself in social, especially when you deal with customer service issues. As any of you all have had any issue, whether it's your bank or your wireless company or whoever, if you've got an issue through customer service, it's easy to go out on social and talk about it. So what we're there to do is try to address those people head on and say, hey, what can we help you with? Let's take this offline. We've got an app built right into Facebook. Let's go right into there. If you're on Twitter, we're going out there and looking for your tweets where you might say, hey, Bank of America, you know, the ATM just ate my card. We can actually go find you, figure out who you are, where you are, hopefully have one in the mail to you before we even get back to you. But that's what we're trying to get back to. So from the engagement standpoint and what the panel talked about before, you know, we're still operating really in the upper funnel part of where we're trying to use social to affect awareness, consideration, likelihood, to consider, recommendation, and we're slowly working down the brand funnel to the product side, and the social and the customer service is an important part of that.
So one really good thing to jump in and kind of elaborate on this is not only is Bank of America servicing more people, they're using their data from the past year and a half to understand why people need servicing. So to understand that maybe at the end of the month people's funds are running low and they may have been hit with an overdraft fee. Or maybe late at night when the call volume is a little bit longer because the staff may be changing. Maybe people are coming to Facebook looking for help because they can't get through the 1-800 number. These are all types of insights that we've been able to uncover, provide back to the servicing team, and because they now have those insights, they're more prepared to understand what may be coming through at certain times of the day, at days of the week. Also understanding how certain economic factors or things that we're actually doing in a media and marketing standpoint can trigger customer service spikes and dips. Those are all things that they've been able to take in, analyze, and put into their new model, and it's a lot of what we've seen has helped them improve not only the overall responses, but also the performance that you'll see on this slide.
And for good or bad, you know, social media can be the vanguard of your brand. I mean, it's out there in this instantaneous feedback loop. So anything you do, you'll pretty much know in social how people feel about it immediately. So we've used that to Dan's point to say, hey, we need to staff up more call center folks at night because people are flooding social media because they can't get through. Those are things that are telling us, including we even launched an ad that had kind of an interesting thing that folks commented on, and we were able to go back and tweak the ad to make sure that we're talking about the right things. You know, but really the takeaway is social media is about building relationships, and I realize that is the no duh statement, but really for us, it's truly the engagement standpoint. You know, again, we hit 1 million today. We're excited about that, but it was a very strategic point for us where at the beginning we thought, well, we can go out there from a paid standpoint and buy 5 million likes. Again, it turns out to be empty calories. And as the panel talked about before, what we're doing from the engagement standpoint on that's much more important. You know, I think our original rule of thumb was 90% of pretty much anything we did was through paid tactics, whether it's acquisition or engagement. I think we've got that down to about a 75-25 level for us now, which shows that our organic engagement is fueling the acquisition as well, and basically we're having to spend less money to do the same that we were doing before. Obviously every like, comment, retweet, and +1 is instant customer feedback. I think the next frontier is we're trying to figure out the value of a like and a comment and a retweet versus, because the problem is you can get on Facebook, and trust me, our executives do, they can get on Facebook and see a post with 500 comments and read through, and the comments can be good and the comments can be bad. And you might say, ooh, what are we talking about here? But then we've got to remind them is that had 15,000 likes and 5,000 shares. And that comes back to what we feel is the silent majority of our customers out there who are engaging with us. They might not be out there commenting because often I think we found that people, if they've got something to say, and often it's something they're frustrated about, they'll say it. If you like us, often you'll just click like, and we appreciate that, but we're trying to figure out how to weigh all those things in the same way. Just because someone follows you doesn't mean they want to hear everything you've got to say. So what Dan and them have done for us is basically figured out, here's our audience, here's what they engage with, here's how we need to talk to them better, here are things that we don't need to talk about because, to be honest, they don't care. We might say, oh, but we want you to care about this, but they don't, and then we realize, let's talk about things that they want to talk about. That's about it.
And that's it. So thank you for inviting us to talk today.
And I don't know how long we hit 0 on there. So, all right.